Today we're talking food. We're talking one of the most widely recognizable, if not the most popular food around the world, pizza. The pizza family tree is rooted in Italy for sure, Naples to be specific, but it branches out from there and it touches every corner of the world. Pizza has been adapted many times over, and this is a topic that we're excited to talk about because people tend to know what they like. And so when they travel out into the world and they leave their own home pizza region and they go somewhere else, they come across different culture, and lots of fun happens when people are out ordering pizza far from home. So we're excited today to be joined by our esteemed guided by colleagues David Tordi, Jorge Roman, Tim Tendick, and myself. I'm Rainer Metzger. I run Guided By. Guided By is a small group tour operator. We are professional tour guides who design and lead our own tours. We like to think we're taking our travelers into closer contact with the people and places that we love the most. We travel off the beaten path. We stay in culturally interesting and updated 4-star hotels. We like to slow down a little bit. We typically spend 3 nights in the places that we visit intentionally, just to kind of spend more time, go into a little bit more depth, and appreciate the places that we are visiting in this age of hit and run tourism. And so we keep our group small, 10 to 15 people. Like-minded travelers. It's the perfect size for a dinner party and the perfect size for a pizza party, really. So I like to just get going here with the topic of the day. Let's see here if we can advance. Yeah, here we are. Finding the perfect pizza is the topic, the title of this talk, and also avoiding a diplomatic incident because of all of the opinions that come with finding the perfect pizza. So pizza is something that unites everybody. It is easily the most common thing that tour guides will seek out on their nights off or when they're meeting colleagues in town. We tend to go out, get a pizza, and just have fun and enjoy. And so I want to talk a little bit about the history of pizza. I want to just define some basic types of pizza so that we know what we're talking about. Everybody's kind of on the same page. And then we're going to run through our panel here and talk about everybody's sort of expertise when it comes to this topic. So last year, there was big news in the world of archaeology at Pompeii, the city that was buried by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, just outside of Naples, Italy. A new fresco was unearthed by archaeologists, and it's this beautiful fresco we see here that has the scene of a platter with images of Roman food that you can see here. And this is a platter with different sorts of things. There's some fruits. There's appears to be on the left a type of flatbread or something with different ingredients topping it. And so this was huge news because it immediately sort of looks like this is pizza, right? And so here we are in 79 AD. The ancient Romans were eating something similar to pizza. Turns out that the ancient Romans had a flatbread that is very much related to focaccia. And so focaccia with toppings on top of it becomes what we know today as pizza. The term pizza was first documented in the 900s in southern Italy, and then pizza really becomes a popular food for the masses in the 1800s, especially in 1889 when the new nation state of Italy had the royal family visit Naples. Queen Margherita, she visits Naples, and she is served a margherita pizza, as it's coined at that time, in honor of her, of the queen, having the mozzarella, basil, and tomato sauce, the three colors of the Italian flag on it. And so pizza margherita today is kind of the standard base pizza that every pizzeria, almost every pizzeria, has around the world. And so this was exciting news to see the kind of history going all the way back to ancient Roman times. Now, pizza opinions are very strong, especially in Naples. And on social media today, we see a very strong cultural current, a protest among Neapolitans who are just absolutely appalled by the idea that anybody would put pineapple on their pizza. Okay, and so here is a reel on Instagram of a person who is raising their protest banner and saying, "No ananas, no pineapple on pizza." Well, okay, but back to that Roman fresco. What's this? Can you all see my cursor here? I'm not sure, but you can see here on the right-hand side, and even up here on the top of this platter, there is something that looks an awful lot like a pineapple, right? So what's up with the ancient Romans with this pineapple? Now, these are all theory. We don't know. This isn't documented, but here we have a fresco that shows pineapple next to the pizza, okay? Not on top of the pizza. This is a point that scandalized Neapolitans were saying as the world was kind of taking in this news and asking questions about what's the pineapple doing here with the pizza, next to, not on top of. Okay, all right, fine. But then one of the most famous Neapolitan pizza makers in Naples, Gino Sorbillo, he has a chain of pizzerias around Italy now. He's expanded, and he has kind of thrown his hands up here with the protesting outrage, the moral outrage of Neapolitans and prohibiting pineapple on their pizza. So he makes this kind of gourmet pizza, high-end pizza, and he decided that he was just going to go for it. He was going to create a pineapple pizza his way to sort of upend all of the kind of cultural orthodoxy about this topic. And that created a huge news scandal, as you can imagine. International press had a field day with this, and so Gino Sorbillo put his reputation on the line, stuck his neck out there, and a lot of people in Naples have been, swearing off his pizza and basically disowning him. But he had an important point to make, to say, like, hey, come on, pizza is for everybody, and there's lots of different ways that you can do this. So that was interesting. Then, of course, a little bit closer to home, our pizza culture in the United States and America is very ingrained. It sort of tends to come from New York, like claim pizza somehow. And there's certain ways that you're supposed to have pizza. And here, Jon Stewart is expressing his moral outrage about one of his fellow New Yorkers who's eating pizza with a fork and knife, which is in violation of New York law, which says you're supposed to eat pizza by the slice with your hands. Okay, so again, lots of opinions. So let's just go through here and establish some basic terms here so we can have our own conversation about pizza here today. This is Neapolitan pizza, okay, from Naples. And yeah, I know Naples is a city in Florida and it's Napoli in Italy, but I'm going to go with I'm going to use those terms interchangeably here, but pizza napoletana is a pizza that by Italian standards is considered to have a thicker crust. And visually you can see here, it does have a kind of thicker cornicione, or the crust part, or sometimes we might call it the handle, right? And so Neapolitan pizza is cooked usually in a wood-fired bricked oven. And it's cooked at very high temperature, and it's cooked very, very fast. So between 60 and 90 seconds because the temperature in the oven is upwards of 900 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's so hot it just cooks amazingly fast, and that's what makes pizza so quick to turn around. And if you even still today in this world of inflation and increasing prices, you can still find a pizza margherita, the basic Neapolitan pizza. Here you see it with the basil, the cheese, the tomato. You can find it for 6-7 euros in certain places in Naples, and if you get a €3 beer, it's the best, 10 euro dinner that you can have anywhere. So my love for Neapolitan pizza runs deep. This is Roman pizza, and I love Roman pizza equally as well. Roman pizza is different from Neapolitan in that this is a much thinner crust. Here, where Neapolitan pizza, they actually spread out the pizza dough into a disc. They do it with their hands. Roman pizza, they tend to use a roller to make the crust even thinner. And you can see that the crown of the pizza doesn't rise as much. It's actually much smaller. It's because all the air has been pushed out by the roller. And there's a whole series of Roman toppings that you'll find that are different and distinct from other places, including Naples. And what I love about Roman pizza is the crust is so thin and light that you have room for other things when you go out for dinner. You can get appetizers. There's all kinds of delicious appetizers to get. You still have room for dessert afterwards. Whereas the Neapolitan pizza, here, both pizzas, you find this in Italy all the time, both pizzas are served on a single plate and everybody gets their own. The other thing that you may have noticed here is that these pizzas are typically coming unsliced. That's the default standard in Italy. Everybody uses a knife and fork to eat their pizzas in Italy. All right, and then in Rome, we have lots of other different types of pizzas. This is pizza bianca, which is just a very simple flatbread with a little bit of olive oil on top, a little salt. It is divine. It's so good. There are other types of pizza that we can talk about as well. Pizza in teglia is basically pan pizza. It's rolled out in a square and it's baked in a pan. Pizza al taglio is pizza by the slice. So you typically same kind of pizza that you'll go into a kind of lunch spot and you'll order. You go up to the counter and you order a basic quantity that they weigh up, and you pay by the weight for pizza by the slice in Italy. This is a great sort of lunchtime thing or a snack. And there's a lot more liberal license for what kind of ingredients are acceptable on this type of pizza by the slice. Sometimes it's also called pinza. Okay, then we go to New York and the New World. New York pizzas tend to be very big in diameter, and they are cooked usually in a coal-fired oven or an electric oven or a gas oven. Sometimes they do wood. There are a few wood-fired pizza ovens in New York, but you can imagine in a big, dense city decades ago, you can imagine the fire hazard with that. So that was much more difficult to actually do, to have that wood-fired oven. So typically, New York pizzas are in these other types of ovens, and the temperatures are much lower. So, they might be baked at 600-700 degrees Fahrenheit, as opposed to the 900 plus that you get in Italian ovens. And so you can see the difference here. Because they're cooked at lower temperature, these pizzas are baked longer. They're baked for, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, something like that. And you can tell on the crust, because the crust is a much more uniform brown. It cooks more slowly, more evenly. It doesn't have the same kind of leopard spots that you might find on, say, a Neapolitan pizza. Okay, these pizzas come sliced, all right? And then, as we discussed, you typically pick them up and eat them, with your hands. You're supposed to fold them over, I guess, like a beach towel or something, because they're so big, and that's New York pizza. All right, so now I want to kind of go through I want to talk a little bit more about the culture of Neapolitan pizza, and then I want to pass it to our panel here and talk more about other types of pizzas around the world. Pizza in Naples is it's a beautiful thing. There are pizzerias that spill out into the streets, as you see here. It's a fun thing for people to gather together. You know, it's great to go out with family and friends for a pizza. It's affordable, it's cheap, it's delicious. Pizza is healthy as well. It's kind of part of the Mediterranean diet in a way, in that you have, you know, you got some carbs, you got the protein and the cheese and the meats, you got some veggies on there, and it's not considered. It's considered popular food, but it's not considered junk food, maybe, like you might get in the New World, say if you get like airport pizza or something like that. Pizza is a really great and healthy and acceptable thing. The Neapolitans feel so strongly about their pizza and their pizza culture that there is an association that verifies the authenticity of true Neapolitan pizza, Pizza Vera Napoletana. And if you recognize this logo here on this sign, this is a pizzeria that has been authenticated by this organization. And one of the best things they did is, I don't know, 20 years ago or so, maybe 25 now, in the late 90s, I think it was, the Pizza Vera Association decided to basically export their authenticity, their mark. And so pizzerias in other places well beyond Naples and even Italy began to become authenticated by this organization. You'd have to pay people to come, verify that the oven was correct, that the ingredients were correct, that the methods were correct, and then they would get the authenticity stamp. And now you see this in places all over the world. I was in Mexico City recently. I came across a Pizza Vera Napoletana joint, and it's a good sign. And then, you know, you're eating pizza inside. It's cheap, it's affordable, it's social, it's fun. Here, people have ordered mineral water and a beer, which is the default drink that you get with pizza. Yeah, sometimes people try to class it up with a little bit of wine, but, you know, really the best thing to get is a beer. Come on, let's be honest. And so here, these folks are eating, this is at Trianon, which is a well-regarded pizzeria in Naples. And look, everybody's eating with a fork and a knife, all right? One of the most famous pizzerias in Naples is Pizzeria da Michele. This is a place that has long been regarded as having, you know, the sort of gold standard of a pizza margherita. They only make a couple different types of pizza, pizza marinara, pizza margherita, and they just keep it so basic and so simple, but they are so well regarded that they always have a line out the door. And in recent years, social media has really blown this place up. And so now the lines are very, very, very long. I promise you, though, there are many other pizzerias in Naples that have just as good, almost as good. You're going to have a great experience at almost every pizzeria in Naples. Pizza has gone gourmet. This is a pizzeria, I Mazzinielli, which is in Caserta, which is just a short drive north of Naples. And there are high-end pizzerias now where chefs are really experimenting with different flavor combinations. I mean, we kind of already saw that with Gino Sorbillo, but that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. This is a more serious endeavor where people are putting more high-end local ingredients onto their pizzas. I Mazzinielli, they're famous for putting things like sea urchin on top of a pizza, and then getting attention from, you know, high-end, you know, food reviewers, Michelin Guide and whatnot. But the Michelin Guide is kind of not well suited for pizza because that, you know, Michelin restaurants are sort of known for their high service, and in Italy they don't, like, the mark of a good pizzeria in Naples is you get actually terrible service. You know, you get kind of you either get a happy-go-lucky, jovial waiter, or you get somebody who's just like, you know, what do you want? You know, and who will give you a little bit of attitude if you try to order something that is outside of the norm. And so that's why Michelin Guide doesn't really kind of square with Italian pizza, certainly not Naples. But they're starting to kind of pay attention because of the gourmet trend. So there's actually a couple of good pizzerias in Caserta. That's become a kind of hot spot for high-end pizza. All right, so that's a little bit about Neapolitan pizza. I want to bring in our panel here and invite David Tordi, our esteemed colleague. David does tours for Guided By. His very popular Central Italy tour is running next year, has openings. I think we're still doing Thanksgiving. We're hoping to do a Thanksgiving version of Central Italy too, right, David? Which would be a lot of fun. That would be an incredible gourmet tour to take the whole idea of Thanksgiving and to Italianize it in a way in his home region of Umbria. And so David does that tour. Check that out. Also, he does Emilia-Romagna Marche, which is another very popular tour that has a couple of seats left in the fall tour of next year, 2025. So that tour goes to some serious food regions, doesn't it, David? But aside from that, let's talk Roman pizza. David, you live an hour and a half north of Rome. Tell us about what's the experience like when you go out for pizza in Rome, and what do you look for on the menu? Maybe what are some typically Roman, particularly Roman pizzas that you won't necessarily find elsewhere?
Okay, so first of all, hi everybody. Ciao, ciao. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here talking about pizzas from the world. Allora, where I come from, can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
So where I come from, it's an hour and 15 minutes north of Rome. So the style of pizza that we make is very close to the Roman style. However, now it's easy to find style of pizzas from different parts of Italy, like Italian, the classic Sicilian Neapolitan pizza, the pinza, the ancient Roman pizza called pinza, which is a very fragrant dough, crunchy, but at the same time soft in the middle. And of course, the Roman pizza, like you explained, very flat, very thin crust, thin edge, thin cornicione. And one is important secret in my area, at least, where that all the people, all the locals look for is the freshness of the ingredients. Like in all Italian cuisine, what really matters the most is to eat seasonal food. So it's not that every month of the year you can have I don't know, a zucchini and eggplant pizza. Italians tend not to order that, for example, in the winter time, because zucchini and eggplants usually we have in the summertime. So we have seasonal kinds of pizza. So simple ingredients, freshness of the ingredients, and that of course helps in case you're local, you know where to go. Most of the places have to keep up with high standards because Italians are very obsessed with the food, as you probably know. So for us, if it's a bad place for pizza, you go once and a week later they close down because the whole town talks bad about them. And that's kind of an embargo, against the restaurant. So usually you look for a long-lasting business pizzeria, freshness of the ingredients, few ingredients. Italian pizza is basically based on very few ingredients, 2, 3 tops. There's only very few recipes of Italian and Roman pizza in this case that are rich of ingredients. One is the capricciosa, the spoiled brat. We call it the spoiled brat pizza, which is in fact a spoiled brat that wants everything on the pizza. So you got boiled eggs, peas, ham, cheese, mozzarella cheese, of course, tomato, and a bunch of other things, artichokes and so on. But other than some very specific, peculiar recipes, what we look for is the very basic quality of the ingredients. And we need to know what flours the pizza is made of. That's very important because the difference between a good pizza and a bad pizza is not only the ingredients, but mainly is the dough, the quality of the flour. If the flours are refined flours, so the crust is white and there's a lot of flour coming out of the dough, you will not digest it and you will spend the night with a big bottle of water trying to drink overnight. If you eat a fresh pizza, a fresh quality dough, you can eat a pizza, even 2 pizzas of the thin crust, and really not feel bad at all. So that's very important.
Awesome, great. What are some ingredients that you only find in Rome on a pizza? Well, capricciosa. Okay, so you said capricciosa.
Capricciosa. We also have in Rome, of course, they're famous. In Rome, they're famous for pasta dishes, carbonara, matriciana, gricia, cacio e pepe. So often you have this kind of replicas of pasta sauces on pizzas, still based on 2-3 ingredients. Carbonara is egg, black pepper, cheese, and pork cheek, which is not bacon, it's the pork cheek, the cheek of the pork. Very, very salted and crusty compared to the bacon. Or you can have the cacio e pepe, or also in Rome, very famous is the quattro formaggi, the 4 cheese pizza. Usually it's mozzarella, pecorino, or provolone, an alternative cheese that could be another melting cheese like caciocavallo, and of course the gorgonzola that gives the sourness to the mix of the 4 cheeses.
Yeah, I would say also zucchini flower, something that you find.
Sì, fiori di zucca, zucchini flower. Artichokes are big in Rome. Rome has a very long season for artichokes. So a lot of our Roman dishes are based on artichokes, even without the pizza. But often in Rome, you find artichoke pizza, zucchini flower, zucchini, often onion pizza, the white onion pizza and the red tomato-based onion pizza, which are very typical in Rome and in my area. And also we have one that I love is the sausage and corn. Pork sausage, crumbs, and corn. Nice. Yeah, that's more typical in northern Rome, in the area where I'm from, because we have a lot of pork meat in our area.
Yeah, the pork is really interesting because you find sausage on a lot of pizzas. It's fresh sausage. You get that all over the world, but then the question is sort of what to pair it with. And in Rome, you often pair it with a green, and there's a different green in every region, right? Because in Naples, it's friarelli. And then in Rome, it's Roman cicoria, which is real bitter. It's real nice, but the sweetness of the sausage is fantastic. So I just getting hungry here just talking about this. All right, let's expand a little bit and travel beyond Italy. We focus way too much on Italy, don't we? But of course, we love it because just all that Mediterranean culture converges on Italy. But out in Spain, we've got Jorge Roman from Madrid. Jorge does the very popular Spanish Loops podcast, and he does the Essence of Southern Spain for Guided By, which is his tour, his baby, that runs through Sevilla and Granada, right? And we are working with Jorge on developing a tour of Catalonia as well. So please check out Jorge's page at guided-by.com/Jorge, and also check out his podcast if you're interested in any range of topic in Spain. Jorge and his colleague Francisco are prolific. They have covered so many topics there. It's a fascinating podcast. I highly recommend checking it out. Jorge, tell us, when pizza arrives in Spain, how is it adapted? What does Spain do to sort of change pizza and make it more acceptable to Spaniards?
Hello, everybody. Hola, buenas tardes. That's Spanish, okay. All righty. Well, you'll be surprised that if I tell you that pizza didn't arrive to Spain until 1959.
Wow.
Yep. That is a political consequence, because we had a very beginning of the 20th century, very, political situation was chaotic. In the 20s, we had a very first dictatorship. Then in the late 30s, we had the Civil War. And just after the Civil War, World War II started. At the end, United Nations was created, and Spain was totally isolated to the world. We couldn't export anything, we could not import anything, except for some few things from, especially Italy, which was just a dry pasta. In fact, I have one of my aunts that she passed many years ago. In one of her stories about the Civil War in Spain, she told me that the very first time she ate pasta, the way we know it now, you can buy it out of the shelf in the market, dried pasta. It was during the Civil War, because Mussolini was helping Franco. So all the prisoners that they were against Franco, They were eating what Mussolini was sending to Spain. It was, just spaghettis. That's the first time she tried that. She was very young at the time. But anyway, just pizza per se didn't arrive in Spain until the year, as I told you, 1959. And I have written down here the name of the restaurant. It was called Serenella. That was the restaurant. And it was a kind of hey, there is something there that is like a flat piece of bread that you put things on it and you eat it with your hands. People were kind of, what? What are you talking about? So imagine. Yeah, it was, they made very well. Of course, they opened another one in Barcelona, and unfortunately, they are not open anymore, any longer. But there are lots of Italian restaurants all over Spain. Italian restaurants, to me, are whenever I travel, doesn't matter where you go, you will always find a Chinese restaurant, an Irish pub, and an Italian restaurant.
So true.
And so, how do we treat pizza when we go out for dinner? There is very, very few in Spain, not only Madrid where I'm based, in Spain, just specifically pizza restaurants. It's just Italian restaurants, and they have pizza as an option, right? And of course, all the varieties. So pizza here, I do believe is considered, and this is my humble opinion, that is more something that you order to have it delivered to your home when there is a kind of a game and you gather some friends, or if you're organizing a gathering with friends just for whatever reason, you order some pizzas and have them delivered. But about 6 months ago, here in my neighborhood, only 2 blocks away from where I live, I found some premises that they're opening, and I'm very curious, and I saw that there were placing some kind of big ovens in there. So I asked them, they told me there was going to be a pizza restaurant, but we have only 3 tables to eat there, and the rest was going to be delivered. The name of the restaurant is called Gatos. Gatos is referring to Madrid, because citizens of Madrid, we are referred as gatos, cats, okay? But that's a very long story that I will tell you some other time. So it's like the authentic Italian pizza in Madrid. I have to tell you, the owner, he's from North Rome also. He told me one of the times I went there that he's trying to do the authentic pizza. And I have to tell you, it's absolutely beautiful, delicious, fantastic. On the other hand, I have to tell you that the best pizza I ever had was in a town in the north of Italy called Trento. And I was going, stopping by in one tour around Europe. And that was the best pizza I ever had in my whole life. Unfortunately, here in Spain, we are not, how can I find the words? Maybe because of the palate of Spanish people, hasn't been fully adapted as was an Italian pizza of any kind. It is, with the exception of this restaurant, I'm telling you, which is the only one I really liked. Just the one I told you 2 blocks away from my home. But of course, in all the restaurants I told you, they have the section of pizzas besides the pasta, because it's Italian restaurant, so it's focused on pasta. I personally don't go to an Italian restaurant to eat a pizza. I go to eat pasta, something that I don't normally cook at home. I have to tell you, and please forgive me, whoever is listening to this, and especially you, David, I don't make the dough for my pizzas. I just buy those that they are frozen, and then I put the toppings on it, which is in a way a kind of, hey, and try my best there. How messy a kitchen can get when you make a dough for your pizza, etc., etc. So that's how I do it. And in restaurants, we do have many variations adapted to the Spanish palate. Of course, we have the Serrano ham, not the Iberian ham. The Iberian ham, many times I have referred to it like the jewel of the crown of Spanish gastronomy. But the ham that we use in that is what we call Serrano, which is, let's say, a step below the quality of a top-notch one. And okay, we have the jamon pizza, then we have all the 4 cheese pizza, the seasonal pizza, etc., etc. But up to now, I haven't found yet one that I would say, oh, wow, I'm going to come back here to repeat it, specifically for the pizzas they make. If I have to choose, or if I fancy that night when I go to a restaurant, Italian restaurant, a pizza, I would just, choose the one that looks more attractive to my palate when I'm reading the menu. And I am surprised that you said that, David, that there's very few ingredients in the real pizzas, because here we tend to put as much as we can on top of the pizzas. But there is one that you also mentioned, which is the onion pizza, which an Italian girl, a girlfriend of mine, many years ago, she told me it was just in one of those frozen pizza bases. I just spread some tomato sauce, as much onion I can put on it, and as much grated cheese I can put on top of that, a little bit of oregano underneath, and then toss it in the oven for about 15 minutes, maybe, just as a medium-high temperature, and it's absolutely chapeau, beautiful. I just love that. And whenever I just feel like doing that, because, I cook at home when I'm here, so I always have the basic ingredients, and onions is one of them. So I just make that. I just take the thing out of the freezer, and also just chop an onion and toss it into the oven. Also, I have to mention one thing. In Spanish, it's very, very difficult, very, and I mean very difficult to find pepperoni, believe it or not. Seriously, it's very difficult. It's the real pepperoni. So, what is the substitute for that? Either chorizo, which is Spanish
Yeah.
chorizo, the one with the paprika, right?
Yeah.
Or something that we call salchichon. I know that word is very
Hmm.
weird, but it's very similar to salami. Okay. And salchichon also is considered as a status as the Iberian ham. You have a top-notch quality, and then you have, stepping down quality. So we use just the regular one, the most affordable one. And also one that is really, really worldwide is the margarita. And also another one that is very famous, the bacon and cheese. Bacon and cheese, just top of bits of bacon on top, and the cheese covering everything, into the oven, and then off, just to eat it. And yes, I agree. You have to eat the pizza with your hands. When I ever see people eating the pizza with a fork and knife, oh my God, this.
Awesome. All right, that makes me want to go to Spain and just try
Yeah.
all that good ham and sausage. I'd love to try it with the Spanish cheeses, of course, too, right, Jorge? I mean,
Yeah, well, there is actually, I've seen many times, to my surprise, pizza with manchego cheese, which is
yeah,
it's not very common. It's not very common. We use mozzarella, we use either cheddar, grated cheddar, we use all kind of grated cheeses that you might think of. But manchego cheese, you don't find them grated, because manchego cheese is to eat it's just by the bites, okay, just by the pieces. So it's very rare to find that. I have to tell you, the flavor changes a lot, because manchego cheese has many varieties of manchego. You have the aged one, which is very strong flavor. You have the medium age, and then you have the we call it not the fresh, but a little bit aged, like about 2 or 3 months old. Even though the manchego cheese is very strong, so it changes a lot the flavor of the pizza towards the other ingredients that they are in
nice.
the pizza. So manchego pizza, if you see it, of course, try, but keep in mind that it might kill the flavor of the other ingredients.
Well, hopefully it's paired well with by the pizzaiolo. Let's go to Tim now. Tim Tendick, coming to us from Tim. You're in Rotterdam, yeah?
Yep, Rotterdam.
Okay, but Tim is our world traveler. Tim does tours in Romania, of course. A couple seats left there for 2024 coming up, if anybody wants to check that out. And then Tim has got Benelux for 2025 and Christmas markets as well. Great tours to check out. Tim, tell us, in Northern Europe and Romania, how do you see pizzas being adapted to those regions?
Romania, I can't wait to go back to Romania and tell them what you said earlier about the Pompeii pizza, because Romania has, for 2,000 years, they've been very westward looking. They see themselves as very aligned with ancient Rome. Most Romanian towns will have that statue of the she-wolf, and there's a little bit of their pizza history they're a little embarrassed about, because back under communism, it was they used kind of a thicker bread, kind of more like a bread, and they would just kind of put whatever leftovers they had on there. And they feel like that's kind of embarrassing nowadays sometimes, but when I tell them that was the real ancient Roman pizza as from that Pompeii fresco, they're going to be delighted. But they still have pizza and pasta are on almost every menu in Romania, because they have that distinct Italian link. And when you have all those different kind of cuisines that are available there, it's nice to have those different options. So you can see it everywhere. Usually they have the same kind of essential few, kind of half dozen. They'll have the capricciosa for sure. I ate my body weight in capricciosa when I spent 3 months in Romania. Quattro stagioni, quattro formaggi. They have all the kind of the standard, the real essentials. They occasionally will get their own thing going, though. You can find places where they'll get Romanian with it. They'll do their own spicy sausages. They're very good with pork in that part of the world. Mamma mia. And then they'll make it with cașcaval sometimes. It's this incredible Romanian cheese. It's definitely kind of, it's a little stronger flavor than mozzarella. So it's somewhere more like a provolone type of thing. They'll use it with that sometimes too. But the one thing I got to say that they do that might be upsetting to people, because they are very traditional. They love their traditional cuisine. So you'll have those essentials, but sometimes in a Romanian place, they'll ask you if you want ketchup. It's not the ketchup it's not Heinz. They asked me the first time it happened, I didn't understand what he was saying. And he said, do you want the spicy? And he's saying ketchup. And I said, I think he just means sauce. So I said, sure. So he brought me a little supplemental little pot, but it was like a really good marinara. So you could use it as like a dipping sauce, or you could put it on top. Some places when they're cutting corners, they'll give you the squeeze bottle, like from a free tour. But in general, they'll give you a nice little dipping pot of a nice little marinara someplace if they have that. So it's not exactly ketchup. It's more like a sauce, but they'll use the word. So you'll see that sometimes. And I got to say, I tried it, and it's not my top favorite, but I loved the variety of it. And that day, it was exactly what I wanted to eat, because it's what they serve next to the castle. So I enjoyed it.
Well, that sounds interesting, the kind of dipping it in the spicy sauce. But I also, I can sympathize here with the Neapolitans who are rising up in arms, rioting over, people coming into Naples and asking for ketchup with their pizza. That is a good way to start a diplomatic incident, for sure. Well, that sounds interesting. I'd love to. What a great way to experience Romanian cuisine, but in a kind of familiar way, where you're just sort of putting the Romanian cheese and sausage together. It's already in a hot oven, and the good bread, of course, and the grain is good in Romania. So that sounds good.
And don't forget the Romanian wine. You get a nice glass of Fitiasca Neagra with that piece of pizza, and foarte bine, foarte bine, amici miei.
All right, Tim. What about in Northern Europe? Oh boy, now we're getting into heresy here, but sauerkraut and what about Wurstel? Hot dogs, like French fries. The Neapolitans do that. They'll do Wurstel and French fries on pizza. I've seen that, and it's kind of shocking because Wurstel is a fancy word for hot dog in my perspective. What do you think, Tim?
Well, if in Germany, I can't speak for Germany. You definitely get some of that, but David's not going to talk to me.
David is about to pounce. He looks like
yes. But I gotta say, in the Low Countries, I have never seen a Dutch herring pizza. I don't think they do it. This area it's the birthplace of Europe. They're the quintessential European countries. So you just get top-notch Italian restaurants. If you want pizza here, you go get generally pretty Italian. There's a place right downtown whose name in the Netherlands in English is Very Italian Pizza. It's one of the better known places right in the center there. And it's pretty darn Italian. Their menu is pretty expansive, so you can get a little Californian, not to get ahead of ourselves. You can get a little bit, but for the most part, I would say most pizza in the Low Countries is very Italian. They don't deviate too much because they don't want to start an international incident. They got too many UN offices here, so they stay pretty straightforward.
That makes sense. That makes sense. They're basically the seat of the European Union, so they're a bunch of diplomats up there, and they know what's up. So,
Yep.
Good for them for showing proper respect. All right, let's go to the New World and circle back to David. David Tordi spent many years in Boston and the Northeast, so he's going to be our expert on New York, New Haven, Boston style pizza. David, what are your thoughts?
Allora, I've had great pizzas in the US. Often we cook pizza on our own. And Jorge, sometimes I buy pre-made dough myself. It's not that every time you make the dough by yourself. Sometimes you don't have time. But here we're lucky enough because we have access to freshly made dough, even at a pizza place. I go downstairs, I just get the pre-made loaves, the little balls. And then you take them home, put them in the fridge, and a few hours later you make the pizza. But sometimes you can even buy it, as long as you know what you're buying. So I'm with you on that. When I lived in the US, when I lived in Boston, I visited a lot, New York many times, lived in Boston many times. Lived in Boston for a long time, 4.5 years, and I traveled throughout the Northeast. And there's a huge Italian community. What I noticed here on this talk so far is that everywhere we talked about, Spain, Romania, even the United States, the Northeast of the US have a huge Italian presence. And pizza, somehow it's an Italian thing, but it's a world dish. Now it's a world dish. There are variations of pizza that go back into ancient times. Even in South America, they have similar ancient traditional flatbreads with ingredients on top. So in Boston, one thing I noticed was often the difficulty in finding the fresh ingredients. Coming from Italy, I could notice that right away. And often the crust was very different. Sometimes the crust was chewier, more chewy than here. And then one thing that I noticed in the New World, in North America, often, not always, but often, many pizza places, they put tons of ingredients on the pizza, and that really goes against the Italian quality of the pizza for Italian palate. I'm not saying it's correct or wrong. I'm saying Italians are used to 2-3 ingredients, fresh ingredients done, and a good crust. So when you find a pizza that's very heavy in weight, carrying 7, 8, 10 ingredients, and I remember when we do pizza nights with my friends in the US, often people make their own pizza and then we put it in the oven. And really often the pizza that people put in the oven, it's full of stuff, They mix a lot of flavors. They make a one meal out of the pizza. Instead, Italians believe that we need the less the better, as long as the ingredients are good. So that's something I noticed. I found great pizzas in the US, but very, very different than back at home. One thing that's important is that the New York style pizza is an evolution of the Neapolitan pizza. So because when many Southern Italians migrated after the unification of Italy, 1870, and again after World War II, many went to the New World. Many settled in New York, Boston, the East Coast, and many of them came from the South, from Southern Italy, because the South got really depressed with the unification of Italy. Within 20, 30 years, most of the Southern families had to leave. Part of the family or the whole family had to leave to a better life condition to the New World. So they brought their recipes. And many people from Naples left and brought their Neapolitan-style pizza. Many settled in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Boston, New England, and so on. And in fact, the New York style pizza, very similar to the Boston style pizza and other areas of the Northeast, comes from the Neapolitan tradition. They had to adapt somehow to the American style, American palate and American style. So a big difference between pizza from Naples or pizza from Italy, like allow me to say motherland Italy, and then Italian, American, Canadian, Italian, Australian, Italian, Argentinian, and so on, where Italians migrated the most, even Northern Europe, they always tended to adapt to the new place and the new people's palate. And that's when the evolution of Neapolitan pizza happened. And New York pizza is one of the first evolutions of Neapolitan pizza. And of course, the bigger, the better, more slices, more commercial. In Naples, pizza is not commercial because you go to one of the best pizza places in Naples, you still spend €5 for a pizza. I mean, €4, €5, €6. The gourmet pizza, €9, 10. People are scared of the €10. So in the US, €9 probably is a slice, $9. So there's the different culture behind pizza that I think it's very important to understand. But it doesn't mean that one is better than another. They're all different. In Northern European cuisine, North American cuisine, they tend to add more ingredients to overcome maybe a little less freshness of the ingredients. Because, for example, when you have Neapolitan pizza, you have daily access to buffalo mozzarella cheese. If you put buffalo mozzarella cheese on a Neapolitan dough, the pizza's done. There's nothing else to add. You're done. You're good. Olive oil and mozzarella, you're good. So this is my thought about this.
It's so true. It's so true. Buffalo mozzarella. Usually mozzarella is elsewhere outside of the Naples area. It's usually made with cow's milk. And then, of course, in New York, this is aged or dried, low moisture mozzarella that is shredded and then put onto the pizza. It's a completely different thing than buffalo milk mozzarella, which has to be served fresh, which is divine, absolutely divine. David, you make an important point about the price. Really, it's more than just about the frugality or the economics of it. It's the mark of an authentic Neapolitan pizza is the price, that it is inexpensive. And the more you pay for it in Italy, you're absolutely right, the more kind of suspicious people get, I think, about like, well, what's going on here? Why is this more expensive? And what is the added expense actually going towards? Because back at Don Michele, that pizza margherita costs €6. So, and that's perfection, right? So it's a good point.
Yeah.
Hey, let's move on.
It's one of the finest. One of the finest in Naples.
Yeah. Let's branch further out into the New World and bring in Tim. Tim, when we prep for this, you mentioned California style, which is a little bit new for me. Although I suppose we should mention kind of what Dave was talking about with sort of more ingredients. You get into the Midwest, and you get into sort of Chicago style, Detroit style. Those are sort of typically thicker, a thicker crust with more toppings, more ingredient, more cheese, more tomato sauce, more things, and it's baked in a deep dish. This is a point of contention, actually, because a lot of Americans have this idea of something called Sicilian style in their head, and they associate it with that deep dish Midwestern pizza. But that's actually Sicilian style doesn't really exist in Sicily or in Italy. That's not really a thing. There is something called sfincione in Sicily, which is a thick bread with toppings on it that is sold by the slice, that is actually kind of related to what we're talking about in the Midwest with deep dish. Those are probably cousins of each other, connected by the immigration that David just talked about. Detroit style is actually really good. It's baked in a pan, and what it has, the cheese is the first layer. So you get this kind of crispy, cheesy layer that gets the crust really super crispy. It's actually really good, but it is really branching out from the kind of traditional pizza that we've been talking about so far. Then we get to California, Tim. Okay, so Tim, tell us, what are all those hippies out there in California doing with pizza?
You light some Nag Champa incense, and then you get your copper pyramid around your pizza. No, well, you don't have to do that. Because California, I think I use it as just kind of emblematic of a broader American thing. Because I mean, I've had pizza in dozens of countries, and it's very reliable. You know what you're going to get. It's a great option when you're not up for more experimentation. But California goes the other way. I think California in general, obviously not all of it, has an addiction to novelty. We go, I've had that. Give me something new. What's the new kind of buzz? Which isn't always a great idea, but in general, in this case, I think it does have enough kind of quality perspective that you can do some really good things. And I got to differentiate between big chain ones, that's not California pizza. That's corporate pizza. That's pizza from Corporatelandia. But if you get into the places that are doing something individually, they can get quite good. I mean, I loved a place I used to go all through college was Pizza My Heart, you know, and I would get the Maui Zowie, I think it was called. I don't even remember what was on it, but God, it was good and had an interesting blend. But all right, you ready for this? I'm going to wake up Jorge. I'm going to go to David. I'm going to give a gesture to you all and maybe piss you all off at the same time, because my single favorite pizzeria in the entire world, I'm embarrassed by a long shot, I mean, no offense to Italy, is in Oakland. There's they got them in San Francisco too. There's a place called Arizmendi, named after a Basque priest, the labor organizer, Joseba Arizmendarrieta, I think his full name is. Arizmendi, it's a co-op. They have a few locations. They do pizza daily. You go in there and you can order a half pie or a full pie. They always go by pie. And you can get whatever you want. And they get creative. I used to live right around the corner, and I would I'd stick my head out the window and sniff what they were doing and just head over there, and I never went wrong. I remember Sunday, the last one I had was on a Sunday. It was 3 mushrooms with a sesame, ginger, garlic vinaigrette on there. They had some where they do like roasted yellow potatoes. There was one that had kale and manchego on it. And I walked in and I said, kale and manchego. And then I took a bite and I went, my God, it's just good. And it has, even though they're throwing all those traditions to the wind, there's a sort of love of the pizza and a playfulness. And you can tell, because if you order a pizza there, they give you however much you order. You get a half a pie, you get a half a pie, you get a whole. They always make a couple extra slices and they chop them into thin ones, and they give you one extra little one to put on top. Because if you order that pizza to take home, there is no way you're going to carry it all the way home without eating it. So they give you a little thin strip so that you can taste it before you get there, because they know you're not going to make it home because it's just that good. So every time I go through Italy, I have to bite my tongue and say, this is amazing pizza. It is. But my favorite in the world is in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm sorry. I'm not even sorry. And when we get there, I'm going to take you all there, because David, you're mentioning this American habit of putting too much on there. They put different things, but they only put a little. So it's very reminiscent of that thin crust, subtle, not overpowering, not giant blocks of kale, but just a little in there. And it's done well. I'll take you. First half pie is on me.
Awesome. All right, Tim. Yeah, that gets into the debate
Va bene, I'm on.
Yeah, you know,
Andiamo insieme.
Italian pizza is about taking local ingredients and putting them on your pizza, right? So taking that philosophy to a place like California, which is a very fertile place, lots of agriculture, lots of good quality, fresh products done in California, you know, something that might be authentic in Italy would be authentic Italian in California by using what's local, and it would be a little bit different. So there's a big distinction between, you know, California Pizza Kitchen, what you're talking about, Tim, and then the place in Oakland, your favorite place, which does this kind of high-end stuff in that kind of regional Italian style. So props for that. Okay, let's wrap up here, folks. Favorite pizzeria in the world, David Tordi. Do you have a recommendation? Can you narrow it down to one? It's tough, I know, but if you had to, one place
today. Right now, one of my top ones is here in Sicily, in the town of Trapani. It's called Aleci, Aleci. I went the other night with my bus driver. I'm currently on a tour of Sicily, and I was speechless for 3 hours after eating the pizza. It was incredible, an incredible experience.
David, I can't believe you were speechless for 3 hours. I'm sorry.
No, I was, Jorge, because I went to sleep, so I was quiet.
Right.
And he digested well and he slept well. David, could you write that in the comments, or would you mind entering that into the comments so that people can get the reference and write it down if they like? We see Tim's got his Arizmendi written in for Oakland, which is great. Jorge, you mentioned earlier the best pizza you had in your life was in Cento in northern Italy.
That's right.
Yeah, is there another that you have in mind, or something that comes up?
Actually, the one I told you that is just 2 blocks away from where I live, and I mean, maybe I'm not exaggerating here if I tell you that twice a week I go there and I get my pizza and I come home, because it's just literally 2.5 minutes away from my door. So it's still hot, and I just have everything ready. I call them. The owner knows me. I'm Jorge, and I want this pizza. I have the menu here at home, so I will be there in how long? 15, 20 minutes to pick it up. So I have everything ready at home, either a beer or a glass of wine. So it's just sitting at the table and eat it.
I
So
love that.
that's my best.
I love that. I
have-
love that recommendation, because what you're saying is your favorite place is the place where you are the most socially connected. And I think people can take that with them from this discussion and go and find that place wherever it exists in their neighborhood, where they can bond with people over this idea. So,
and there is one thing, if you allow me to add here, is in the North Pacific Northwest area. There is a chain of restaurants called Buca di Beppo. You probably heard of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not because of the food; it's because of the I don't know how to call it. How irreverent is the place, and it's just the fun of going there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just
we have one of those here. We like that. I like that place. It is a spirited and festive place. My top recommendation, people. There's so many great pizzerias to mention. Even in the United States, because similar to the places that Tim was talking about, Chris Bianco in LA and Lola in Minneapolis are two that come to mind. Razza in Jersey City outside New York, fantastic. But if I have to recommend one place for people to go, I am going to recommend the Forno Campo dei Fiori in Rome, right on Campo dei Fiori, the daily market. This is a place that does pizza bianca, which is just that simple flatbread. It is divine. It's the first meal I had as I arrived in Rome as a college student studying abroad. It changed my life. It's a piece of pizza that costs €1. You go in, you go to the back, you get a slice. Hold back if you can. If you go in early in the morning, they're bringing out these big, long sheets of pizza bianca out of these long ovens that they bake it in. Slice it up fresh and hot. It is divine. It is the essence of good Italian ingredients put together in a masterful way, recipes that have been refined for centuries, and it is just absolutely spectacular. Highly recommend it. Thanks for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. It's been a fun conversation. I want to open it up now. If anybody has questions, we've got a number of good comments here, and I see a reference there. Where was that? Phil, you talked about smoked salmon on pizza, which is that's an interesting idea. I tried to do that. I'm super into pizza now, making it at home with a pizza oven. I have an Uni. Also Gosni too. Gosni and Uni make great home pizza ovens that you get up to 900 degrees, and you can do all different kinds of pizzas that you like. And I tried to do one for my uncle last summer, who's a sport fisherman. He catches salmon, and I did a smoked salmon with mascarpone and capers that I thought was good, and he was very suspicious, but he came around. He liked it. So, Phil, I appreciate your comment. Anybody else? If you have favorite pizza combinations that are maybe a little bit different but are adapted to your home region, we'd love to hear about them. Or questions. If you have a question, Paul, I see you got your hand up. Go for it, Paul.
Yeah, Rainer, no one so far has mentioned dessert pizza. And I have to qualify that I live in California, but I was introduced to dessert pizza in Maryland 50 years ago. A couple of high school buddies worked at a pizza place, and we knew to go in and get some free slices just before they were closing because they would have to throw out the food. But then they would make dessert pizza. They'd roll out a pizza dough, they'd put peanut butter on it, and they'd put dollops of jelly, and they'd bake it in the oven. And then when I got to California here, been here 30 years, there's a couple of places serving dessert pizzas, and the best one I ever saw was crunchy almond butter, and they put dollops of Nutella on it.
Oh man, that does sound good. That does sound good. Dessert pizza. Yeah, I like that. That reminds me that in Rome there is a kind of sweet type of pizza called pizza braica. That's actually not far from Campo dei Fiori. It's in the Jewish ghetto, and that pizza is wonderful. It just shows you that pizza can be anything, because this isn't like a savory pizza like we've been talking about. This is a pizza that's got nuts and candied fruit on it and raisins, and it's famously sold at a bakery called Boccione in the Jewish ghetto. Highly recommend it. It looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible. It's all burnt and crisp and charred and blackened, but it's really quite good. And it's a sweet kind of pastry pizza, I guess you'd call it, that is a recipe that comes out of the tradition of the history of the Jewish ghetto in Rome. It's really fascinating. Thank you, Paul, for that comment. Anybody else want to take the floor?
Yeah. Rainer, one type of pizza that everybody should... Yeah, I wanted to say,
Yeah.
Can you hear me? One pizza that everybody should try at some point in their life is a white pizza, no tomato sauce, no mozzarella, with potatoes, either sliced roast potatoes or even a puree of potatoes with salt mixed in the potatoes and wild fennel seeds in the mix. Try that.
Yeah. And now, is that a pizza by the slice situation?
Yeah, you can make it by the slice or even a round pizza. It's okay. We usually make it by the slice on a flat rectangular tray, slice it in squares or rectangles, and eat it by the slice. But you can make it a round pizza as well. It's incredible.
Potato, fennel, a little salt, probably a little olive oil, maybe. That sounds amazing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Buonissima.
Jorge.
Yes, I have here a recommendation. If you want to follow how dramatic Italians can get about the atrocities that is done with the pasta and pizzas all around the world, there is a couple of guys. But David, probably you have heard of them. They are on Instagram as Lion Field, and they call themselves, "We are Matteo and Emiliano, pasta protectors during the day, musicians at night." So I have to tell you, Instagrams, those reels, they are less than a minute. You should see their expressions about what, as I said, the atrocities they make about pasta and pizza in general all around the world. And please follow them if you want to laugh and get to know what is the real situation from an Italian point of view, and how natural the other people are doing things, like if it was the okay way to make it, when the others goes, with those typical Italian expressions, like if it was your grandma trying to kill you with the eyesight, it's just that it's really funny. So the name is Lion Field, as it sounds. I'm gonna type it now in the chat box. Okay.
Awesome, love that. That's a whole meme now on social media. It's Italian reactions to pizza atrocities. We've got comments here from Paul M. talking about meatball pizza in New York. Also agree, meatball pizza is excellent, really good. Chicken parm, of course. I haven't tried that, but I know that chicken parm is a huge regional thing in the New York area, and I'd love to go try that. Chicken cutlets also in the kind of Italian delis that you get in that area. Next time I'm in New York, I got to check that out. And then of course David chimes in. Best pizza in Italy is at his mom's house. Okay, all right, very good. Everybody, let's go to David's mom's house and try the pizza. That sounds like a lot of fun.
You're all invited. You're all invited.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. This has been fun.